Welcome to another edition of Be the Change Georgia, where we amplify the voices of the inspiring business leaders surrounding the B Corp and social impact movements across the Southeast to help you learn how to build your legacy at the intersection of people, planet, purpose, and profit. Today, there are more than 8,000 B Corps in over 80 countries and 180 different industries, unified by one common goal: transforming the global economy to benefit all people, communities, and the planet. If you want to learn how to plug into our purpose-driven business community alongside the inspiring leaders we feature on this show, check us out at belocalgeorgia.com or on Instagram or Facebook at belocalgeorgia, and we'll hope to meet you at our next event. Today's guest is Gary Whitehurst, CEO and co-founder of Brighter Investing, an investment firm that helps its clients align their personal purpose and passion with the places they invest their money. Gary brings a unique background to this work, leveraging his decades of experience in the investment and wealth management industries to build something different, a socially and environmentally geared impact investing firm. In this episode, Gary shares what led him to launch Brighter Investing, how their approach differs from mainstream investment firms, and why redefining risk and value is essential to creating lasting impact. We also demystify some of the impact investing buzzwords, defining what ESG is and isn't, and explaining how it is used to help investors make decisions in line with their own personal risk tolerance. Gary also tells us about their newest endeavor, a social justice investment fund, and what it means to invest your money in the causes you care about. Whether you're a seasoned investor, a social entrepreneur, or just curious about what it means to invest with purpose, this is a conversation you won't want to miss. Gary Whitehurst, welcome to Be the Change Georgia. What's going on, man? Glad to finally have you on.
Yeah, brother. Nice to see you, man. I appreciate the nod. Been looking forward to this.
It's a long and winding road to B Corp certification too. So first of all, congratulations on that. But I was trying to think back. I was like, what year did we first work together? It was like 2019, I think.
Yeah, I think it was. So it's a long and winding road is well put. But Turtle wins the race. We got there.
You get to be our age too, and it's like, which long and winding road are you referring to?
That's true. We had to choose along the way. So, but glad I'm here, man, and glad we're able to do this together. This is cool.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm just excited to kind of tell some of it's such a cool story too, because like you've had, I want to say, now I'm going to make you sound old. You've had a really incredible career, but no, like you did this for almost 2 decades, and then kind of had this pivot in life where you decided to do something along the same lines you've been doing, but to do it with more purpose baked in. So I guess let's rip the Band-Aid off and get into a little bit of the founder story and the kind of why going from traditional kind of investing and wealth management to impact investing and really helping people kind of manage where their money goes and, where they're putting their head on their pillow a little bit easier at night.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So went to the University of Georgia. Always have to throw that in. Moved to Atlanta in late '96 and was fortunate enough to get hired with an entrepreneurial kind of growth-minded wealth management firm in 1997. They actually hired me as a financial advisor. And what that meant back then was they wanted me to cold call 125 business owners every single day. Just get the phone book out and smile and dial. Well, it wasn't good, but what made it worse was the fact that I was absolutely horrendous at telesales. I mean, like literal ineptness. I set records for the least amount of appointments for other people in the firm. I don't know how I didn't get fired, but it taught me a couple of things. The first was how to take a verbal punch in the face and get up off the ground and smile. That was one. But secondly, the more important thing was if you don't like something, fix it. And so my fix back then was I went to the two gentlemen that owned the firm and said, hey, we should probably look at a new way to bring on advisors like myself. Maybe instead of having them cold call, we could have them learn with a more senior advisor, kind of learn the business, and it would help our retention and maybe help our growth as we went ahead. And so we tried that model out with the CEO of the firm. It worked. His business grew, and I started making above the poverty line. So we said, you know what? Why don't we bring these two? Why don't we take this concept and roll it out to the rest of the firm? And that was kind of pivotal because I went from being just a financial advisor to more of a hybrid role within the firm, where I had pretty much every role you can think of, from investments to operations to working on sales, marketing, and business development. And we built it from probably 14 employees when I started to just under 50 and $1.5 billion under management when I left in 2019. As far as kind of the pivot point for me, it was back in 2017. I sort of got the itch to do something different. We had built the firm up to a pretty good size, and I realized that I didn't own any of it, and there probably wasn't any exit coming from me. Plus, we were hitting a more mature stage in the firm, and so I knew that. And so I started thinking about what was I going to do next, and I knew I wanted to do something different, and I wanted to do something with an impact, and definitely not telesales. But I wanted to do something, but not impact like we think about it today. I just wanted to do something that people wanted to be a part of, and employees wanted to come work for. That just was really, really important to me. And I started having some conversations with a woman named Nancy Sager, who co-founded Brighter with me. And Nancy had done some work for our existing firm. She'd always been a good sounding board for me, and I was helping her get connected in Atlanta. And she's got a passion for social enterprise. I mean, a strong passion. And one day we were just talking, and we said, you know what? Why don't we bring these two concepts together? Why don't we start an investment advisory firm with a social mission? And that was really where Brighter was started, just over a beer, sitting there talking about what we were going to do next. And Brighter, like the firm I came from, we do planning for clients, help them plan for the future, retirement planning, buy a business, sell a business, education, those things. But when we go to deploy that capital, we're focused on working with our clients, endowments, nonprofits, towards direct their capital more in line with the world they want to see.
That's awesome. A lot of good things started over a beer. Be Local Georgia started over a beer. I mean, Scott Sadler and me just sitting down one day going, what is this thing? I don't know. You want to do it? I'll do it.
Yeah. A lot of good ideas, a lot of bad ideas. But
he was smart enough to jump ship years ago. No, I love Scott. I always credit him with being the co-founder because he had that beer with me. He goes, I didn't do anything. I was just drinking a beer with you.
Yeah, Scott's a good man. I like it. Yeah. He's a good dude.
Yeah, definitely like an OG pioneer in this space in the state of Georgia for sure. So,
yeah.
So one of the things that I think is important, like we have to talk about, because even me living in this space, if you ask me to define these things, the general, like, I know enough to be dangerous, like, impact investing, but like we have the new boogeyman term in the world right now. Multiple boogeyman acronyms.
There's a few
that we dare not use. One of them being ESG, but I think people often conflate like ESG, impact investing, values-based investing. Can you like give us the Nathan's idiot guide to what is the difference between all these things? Because I think people are more scared of the unknown and what they actually mean and stand for. And from a personal investment standpoint, where you kind of fall into this as far as like my values and where I want my money to park at night.
Yeah, it's a good question, and it was one that was very important to me when we started the firm, because there's so many terms that are out there. You're right, and they mean different things to different people. And so whenever we work with a client, we want to start with a common language. And it was also very important to me that what we did was concrete. I didn't want to go out there and say, hey, here's your sustainable portfolio. What the hell does that mean? I don't know. But congratulations. So I wanted to be able to talk about it. I wanted people to understand what they were investing in. And so when we talk about sustainable investing with clients, we say there's basically three components that we're going to talk about that kind of make up the space. The first is values investing. Now, this really started with religious institutions back in the 60s and 70s. They went to their investment advisors and they said, hey, we don't want to be invested in certain stocks. No gambling, no alcohol, no tobacco, no weapons, commonly known as the sin stocks. They just didn't want to invest in these positions because they didn't represent who they were. They didn't care what it did to their return at the time. It actually really didn't help their return. But they just said, listen, this doesn't reflect our values, so we don't want it. Well, values investing is still around today. The way that you do it with clients is through either thematic funds, or you can do a concept called direct indexing, where you can take an index and really remove things that clients don't want in their portfolio and kind of accentuate those things that they do and keep the return really close to the basic index. So there's ways to bring out values today in a portfolio, a lot of cool ways to do it, and still kind of the anchor when you start talking to people today about what they want. On the other side of that, you have impact investing, and impact focuses on what a company does. If I'm going to invest in a company, what problem is it solving? Climate change, resource scarcity, widening inequality, access to capital. Impact investing is focused on buying those companies that are solving problems out the front window. If you want to, you can find direct impact in the environmental world. You can find that in the public markets, like buying that on a public market exchange. But as you start to get into more social issues, things like access to capital or getting money to underrepresented founders, oftentimes you got to look in the public markets to find impact there. And then sort of the final piece, the one that gets all the noise, but it's always been strange to me, but is ESG investing. ESG, for anyone who doesn't know, stands for environmental, social, and governance. And literally all it is a set of metrics that companies report on that talk about the risks they're exposed to in the environmental sector, in the social sector, their employees, or in the governance. How transparent are their practices? And there's a lot more nuance there, but it's got nothing to do about politics. It's got nothing to do about impact. Weapon manufacturers, fossil fuel companies, they all have ESG scores. It's literally just metrics, but you can find ESG rated funds, which can help you look at a business and say, how sustainable are their business practices? But you can look at, you can find ESG funds all throughout the public markets as well. And so to kind of put a bow on this, when we work with clients, there's generally elements of all three. They'll say, hey, there's things I really care about and may or may not want in my portfolio. These would be some problems I'd like to solve. There's an exercise we take them through where they start to see the world of impact investing, and ESG kind of helps round everything out.
Just put a scorecard to it.
You got it.
And I'm happy to report Gary did not get struck by lightning after saying ESG. So, well, anyway, when you talk about value space, so like, well, I literally wrote down free market, like putting my money where I want to put my money. And it's like, and again, same thing with churches. It's like, yeah, I can understand why they don't want to be investing in Sands or Wynn or whatever. Sands might be dating myself. I don't even know if that's still that was a casino from like the 70s. But anyway,
I think it's off the main strip, but I think it may still be there.
But anyway, like it's free market. So I'd like to see a return to that. But no, that was super, because basically, to sum it, I just put values based as free market investing. Impact is what problem are they solving, and ESG is just a scorecard that we're using to kind of determine risk for your money and your own risk tolerance. So those were three very scary topics you helped us unpack there.
Yeah, and it is funny for most people at the end of the day, when we build the portfolio, they care the least about the ESG investments. They hardly ever get brought up, and that's what all the noise is about. It's incredible.
Yeah, well, we're scared of what we don't know. But speaking of lightning, like it has become a lightning rod. How do you like cut through that noise of just the initial guttural reaction from a lot of people when they hear ESG, like, oh, he's one of those. What are you seeing Well, how are you dealing with it? And then what are you seeing in the marketplace right now? Is there still like a very like, oh, they do ESG investing, I don't want to work with them?
Yeah, so there's certainly some of that. I mean, we lead with the fact that we're a sustainable and impact investing firm, and that's who we are. So if you don't want that, you probably don't talk to us. But the way that we kind of get around it, and this again was also very important to me. But some people are focused on planet, some people are focused on people issues, and some people are focused on both. We have a conversation with them to find out what it is they care about, and there's no should in that conversation. This is not about what I care about, what I think is sustainable. This is what do you care about. So it kind of starts with that conversation, and we take the politics out of it. We don't lead the witness. This is about finding out what our clients care about, and there's no judgment on whatever any of those issues are. So that's kind of the first thing that we do. We don't really talk about issues in the world today. We say, hey, what's most important to you? And from there, it's our goal is to understand what our clients tell us, to make sure that we clearly understand where they are and where they want to go, both financially, but also what's this view of the world they want to see. And we help build a portfolio that helps achieve their financial goals while also directing their capital more in line with that special world that they want to be a part of, that's important to them. I think that's one of the biggest things it's a very individual exercise. Some of the investments will cross different clients, but it's a very individual conversation. And it's very solutions oriented. It's not about, what you think. It's more about how can we, find solutions to some of these things that you care about. Now, that said, out in the world today, people are passionate. We live in a connected world, and people are passionate about a lot of things. And when they're passionate about something, they want to talk about it. Go Dogs. But our premise is, our premise has always been, hey, if people find out that they can invest their capital and do it in a manner that's either consistent with their values or help solve some of the biggest problems we face in the world today, and they can do it while achieving their financial goals, they're going to do that. And lucky for us, that genie's out of the bottle and she's not coming back. So we're getting more and more demand for people that want to understand this a little bit more and want to invest sustainably. And our real issue now is finding the solutions that attach to a lot of these new issues that our clients care about. It's really being able to satisfy the demand that's out there, because we live in a diverse world and there's a lot of diverse things that people care about, and we want to help them invest that way when we can.
When you hit the nail on the head too, like whatever, the genie's out of the bottle, the toothpaste is out of the tube, the ships left the harbor. You have banks. Like I waited 6 months for Climate First Bank to open before
Yep.
I sent my first invoice, just because I didn't want to have to switch banks. And so Climate First Bank, you're seeing, I mean, that's what, the third North American B Corp bank. And then there's a couple over in Europe. And so you're seeing these where it's like, this is where I want my, there's been a lot of focus on that. There's, venture capital firms now that are certified B Corps. There's investment, companies and wealth management companies that are certified B Corps. But at the end of the day, and we both went to the University of Georgia, and I don't want to call it a more traditional business school, but it's capitalism. Like it is what it is. There's a free market though, that if I remember meeting this professor one time, we were talking about Bud Light, and if something moves too far in one direction, it opens up a market opportunity in the other one. And it was a very interesting, I hadn't really looked at it because I'm sitting there going like, oh, like what is this? And then it was like, no, this is just the free market at work. And if something moves, so really all we've done in this space is seen an opportunity with clients who really care and an opportunity to serve them and meet their needs in a better fashion and roll out a business offering or an investment offering that matches kind of with what they want their money to be doing for them or what they want to be invested in.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly it. I mean, this is, as I said, I didn't know what impact we wanted to make with this firm when we began, or what impact I wanted to make, but it was a gap we saw in the marketplace. I love it. I mean, I feel great about what we do every day. It's really cool. But yeah, it was out there to satisfy demand that we assumed people, people had.
Yeah. What a beautiful world where you can be passionate about what you do and make a little money doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Crazy concepts, Gary. Crazy concepts.
I know, man. Isn't it weird?
One of the other things you're working on right now is democratizing access to private impact-oriented investment opportunities. So to the average person, I suppose I just said gibberish. So,
Gesundheit.
so buzzword, finance.
Yeah.
But what does democratizing access to private impact-oriented investment opportunities, what does it look like in practice? And what kind of impact are you and your firm trying to have?
Yeah. So first off, so private investments, what they are is it literally is you're buying an interest in a private company, or you're making a loan to a private company. It's not in the public marketplace. And so those have been historically, those have been specialized transactions, and the access to those investments have usually been withheld for people that have a lot more money. There's a lot higher minimums to get in there. There's a lot of legal work that needs to be done, and the access has not been there historically for retail investors. Now, for the last couple of years, it has, but we're going back. From a pure investment standpoint, we believe that private investments are a good buzzword diversifier in a portfolio. All that means is they have a spot in a portfolio. There's a percentage within an equity portfolio and debt portfolio that we think private investments fit. And so it fits our first thesis, helping our clients financially. But then on the impact side, you can get really crystal clear on the impact that you're doing. I mean, you get to see your dollars at work when you help an entrepreneur get access to capital that normally wouldn't have access if not for the fund that you're investing in, or you see a wind farm or a solar farm go up, or you see loans made because of the things that you do. That's your dollars did that. I did that. And so it's a really crystal clear way to get impact. And so it matches our goal of being able to give clients, direct impact while generating a return. And it's not without risk, but the returns can be fairly robust that's in there. And so what we're trying to do is really democratize access to some of these, or to a lot of these investments, by creating our own vehicles where clients can invest at lower minimums, and sometimes with liquidity windows, so that they can get into some of these investments, at much smaller amounts. And we're finding more and more funds that want to create access for smaller. Well, smaller is not the right word, but create more access for investors in general. So we're outsourcing those funds so that we can offer them to our clients. We just couple of weeks ago, really, we just announced it recently, but hired a woman named Kelsey Russell to come work with us, and she's been instrumental in really broadening our private access. She's helped us build a board of directors around some of the issues that we want to address, so that they're helping us figure out what we're bringing to the table, matching what it is that we're offering our clients. So she's been great at doing that, and really, she and Nancy spend a lot of their time figuring out what are the issues, where can we invest, where is capital needed, and my job is to find the investments that fit those causes and also fit the financial profiles our clients need.
That's awesome. Yeah, Kelsey's amazing. Definitely I just love what you guys are building too, the ability to actually use capital to solve some of these. We sit around and wait for solutions, and I think that's one of the things that's always appealed to me about the B Corp movement, and this whole idea of business as a force for good, whether you're a B Corp or you're not a B Corp, but this ability to use business to like reimagine the world and to deploy capital into the spaces that you want to. And again, free market, my money, I can do whatever I want with it.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Yeah, you're right. Kelsey is awesome. I'm glad you had me, and surprised you had me on this podcast. Pretty much everybody knows Kelsey and Nancy, and nobody knows who the hell I am. So, I got two great people I work with. So I'm very fortunate there.
Well, I knew nobody would appreciate my Georgia background wall like you would. So
True statement there, friend.
figure I'd bring you on. One of the things, and I kind of, I guess, what's the word? Spoiler alerted, or I didn't bury the lead. I reverse buried the lead by spilling the tea at the beginning about y'all being a B Corp. But
Yeah.
So real quick for people who 70 or so episodes into this podcast don't realize I teach a class at UGA on social impact and using business as a force for good. And Brighter, and this, I didn't realize this was right after you formed when you're like, oh, wow, this is 2019. So I still remember Kinsey Robinson, who worked with me at AdVic, actually worked on the project. She's like a senior VP of sales or something crazy now too. It's like, it's been a while. But our journey goes way back. So like, walk me through as much as you can of that memory of like 2019, kind of having this idea, getting the firm off the ground and going like, let's look at this B Corp framework. And I think it was like 21. I still remember I was driving to the Georgia-Florida game. And we were talking as I was in the car about kind of re-engaging on some of the B Corp stuff. And then finally it was earlier this year, late last year, we kind of reconnect. Oh, that's right. Because you guys went through a cohort with me.
Yeah.
Was Kelsey kind of re-engaged me. We saw each other at Venture Atlanta and said, we're ready. And we finally got y'all B Corp certified. So talk me through the intentionality behind that journey and what it was about the B Corp certification and kind of, I don't know, kind of quite scarily, kind of also like taking that ugly look in the mirror of like, have we built what we thought we were building?
Yeah. So when we started Brighter, we incorporated as a benefit corporation. So we actually put it in our corporate charter, and had every intention of getting B certified early on. It's one of the reasons I first started talking to you, because it was very, very important to us that if, again, we go back to this idea of concrete, what do we stand for? What is it that we're doing? And so we wanted it to be clear to people that came to work for us and clients that we served what our values were, what we cared about, how we made decisions within and for the company, and what that meant. As we started to work through B certification, as with anything else, life just gets in the way. Starting a business is hard. I encourage anyone out there, please do it, but it's hard. And there are going to be challenges, bumps in the road. If you're meant to do it, it ends up being fun. You'll look back on it at the end of the day and say, "Man, I'm glad I did that," which I do every single day. But when we were small, when it was just us and we had less clients and less employees, this was all about kind of setting our direction and making sure that we were good with what we were doing. But as we started to build out our clientele and build out the people that ultimately are going to be working for us, we wanted to be able to hold ourselves accountable and stay grounded to who we are, what's important to us, and where we're going to go. And the world gets complicated quickly. And so getting B certified was a way for us to really kind of isolate our business practices, take a look at them, and make some purposeful decisions on what we're doing right now. And be able to articulate those and also think about how we want to grow in the future. So it really kind of hit us because we're hitting the stage where we're starting to grow in assets, starting to grow in clientele, and starting to grow with people that we want to come work for the firm. And so for us to manage that and stay true to who we are, getting that B certification was very, very important to us. So that was really the big nudge. And you may or may not have had something to do with that over the last five some odd years. Thank you, friend.
That's my pleasure. Well, I remember it's so funny because I remember one of the original ones too. I remember a conversation with you, me, and Nancy, and was like, well, I want our score to be higher before we certify. I'm like, how hard it is to get to 80 points? Like, you guys were at like 106 or whatever. And I just toggled over and I was like, oh, we finished at a 134. And before they get rid of the point system, B-Lab, if you're listening, don't get rid of the point system. We like a scorecard. It's one of the, I'm trying to think. Maybe Valencia Bell out of Mobile. Maybe Valencia had a higher score of all the companies I've worked with. But Nancy got her wish. We got a really, really, really high score.
Yes, scores are important to Nancy. On this one, I was pass fail, so that was most important to me. So I'm glad we got there, but super excited. We also had a pretty good score to show for it as well.
Well, it's funny too, because when you start, it's like all about every point, and then by the end of it, you get so sick of like arguing with your analysts that you're like, "Is it above 80? We're good. We are good to go. Just send over that agreement we need to sign. Send over the invoice, and it's a pleasure doing business with you."
That's right. Let's put this one to bed and move on. We'll worry about recertification later.
Yeah, we got 3 years to worry about that. So, well, anything else that's in the future for Brighter worth sharing right now? Anything else top of mind for you?
Man, we are we're looking to add employees over the next year, which is going to be big for us. We've done things with a very small team, but are talking with some employees that are in different states. We've always worked with clients in different states, but really starting to expand our outreach. We think we've gotten to a spot where we've got the core of what we do down pretty well, our core, our culture, our systems, our processes. And so we're looking to expand those things out, over the next couple of years. So that's really kind of the next big step for us, and a larger focus on, at least a larger focus than what we've had on having access to private investments for individuals and nonprofits and endowments as well. I think the education around that, as long as it's the right investment and right time frame for people, can really be a growth area for both the firm, but also for individuals as well.
It's exciting times. Send those resumes to somebody's inbox is full already.
Yeah, I got it.
Hey, better to be. It's funny how crazy it is though. Like literally in the B Corp space, I met like how many people even reach out to me where like, can I get an internship? Do you need anything? Like, I work for free. And you're like, first of all, never do that. Yeah. Second of all, but it's crazy. It's crazy to see the shift that B Corp's gotten. And, if anybody wants like proof in the pudding that this next generation cares, it's like, go post a job when you work at a B Corp and see how many applications you get in. It's pretty awesome. Yeah,
we have had a wonderful experience working with interns from UGA as well, and they tend to love working for companies focused on sustainability. So that's been a huge benefit for us, and it's been a blast working with those students. That's been some of the most fun projects I've had.
Yeah, well, you get to. I think my favorite part of that is you get to give them the tools, the playbook, or at least some exposure to architecting what some of this change that they want to drive looks like.
Yeah.
You get to mold the little arsonist into a true architect of change.
Absolutely. That's another phrase I have. When you find a chef, let them cook. Figure out what gets people excited. Give them the guardrails, and let them go.
Yep. Well, Gary, thanks so much for coming on, man. This is long overdue. I'm excited to give your moment in the spotlight, since everybody loves Nancy and Kelsey more. But hey,
I know
I haven't talked to them while driving to a Georgia-Florida game, so you win in my book.
Yeah, I'll go back to the nerdy finance closet, and we'll let them take the lead again.
It's like that old line from Tommy Boy or whatever. Me and my fellow nerds and I will retire to our nerdery
see you
and
later.
have something to you by this afternoon. So, well, I'm glad I broke you out of the nerdery for a couple hours.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. It was great talking to you. I enjoyed it, man. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs. And yeah, thanks for coming on, and thanks for everything you're doing in the space. It's important.
Absolutely. Talk soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Gary.
All right. See you, buddy.
Well, that wraps up another edition of Be the Change Georgia. We're grateful, as always, for the opportunity to serve you with this content and grow this incredible community of purpose-driven B Corp leaders. If you haven't already, we would be grateful for you to rate this show wherever you get your podcasts by simply tapping the number of stars you think it deserves and sharing it with a friend. This helps us get the word out and continue to use our collective influence as a force for good. This podcast wouldn't be possible without the help from our production team at Chat with Leaders Media. Learn how you can launch your own podcast to grow your business at chatwithleaders.com. Thanks again for listening, and now go be a leader worth following.